What's my background right now? What is that picture?
I don't know. Some art.
Okay, I'll leave it.
I guess.
I'll leave it. What's up, bro?
Oh, nothing, man. Just finished doing yard work. Fucking hot down here in Louisiana.
Yeah, it actually feels great up here in Denver.
I bet.
It feels freaking it feels like a rice festival day, like October in Louisiana. Go to the rice festival, a little breeze, 70, 75.
It 100% feels like an August day in Louisiana right now. It's brutal. But I got it done. It's out the way, so I don't have to worry about it later today.
Yeah, yard work is a bitch down there.
Yeah, it's a job. But yeah, man, what's up with you?
Not much. I have just been walking dogs and working, and I'm almost done with that Son of a Gun record, and that's going really good. That's cool. So I went through all the songs and applied all my presets that I got on that first heavy mix, and that took a while, like a couple days. So then I bounced, and then I listened. I went to my car. Mm-hmm. And I was like, holy shit, the bass is way too loud, because on these awesome studio speakers, it still sounds good. But in a car, when the bass is too loud, it's like,
overwhelming.
Yeah, you can just really tell, because there's not as much detail. So then I always make this boo-boo where I don't mix with the reference track. I don't go to the reference track until after my first final bounces, when I'm ready to hear what I got. And then I compare it. I guess I like to figure it out the hard way, but it would have saved me a lot of time. So the August Burns Red record, Messengers, I went with the older one. No way I can compete with their new stuff, man. That mix is so insane. Under Oath, 5 Iron Frenzy, their new records they sound so good. So my stuff was way too loud. So that's the good news, is that I actually got it was like almost double the volume.
Oh shit.
So that's like, juice. So now once I bring the bass down, then like my snare is going to cut through the mix better, because I've still been not really happy with it. Stuff like that, So I just got to go back through with the reference track and tweak again, but almost done with that, and it's fire.
How many songs is it?
Fire. 9.
Damn, it's a full-length album.
Yeah, if they don't decide to throw a couple away for whatever reason, because they were talking about that one song where something was out of tune, but I fixed it and it sounds juicy. I think you're going to like the way, you already heard it, but it already sounds better, the way the bass and the guitar shred together. It's awesome.
Fuck yeah, man.
Awesome.
Hopefully we'll put our shit out soon. I don't know. Still patiently waiting.
Yeah, record labels.
At the beginning of the year. It's like, what the fuck, man? Let's just put it out already.
Mo money, mo problems, bro.
It's not like we got any money from it. Anyway, we did have a show this past weekend, so that was cool.
How'd it go?
It was good, man. It wasn't as packed as our first show, but down here, stuff with COVID is getting kind of dicey. So, like I know the night before, the night before we played on Friday night, Capra had a show in Baton Rouge, and they had like fucking 6 people show up. It's like, no.
Really?
In other words, like, I think everyone's a little sketched out about COVID around here, so they're not doing like these big ass shows and stuff. It wasn't like the show we had in June. We still ended up, almost 100 people showed up like towards the end of the night, but it wasn't like sold out, But it was a decent show. Mix sounded great. The Ingle was fucking kicking ass. Like, it was, dude, I love that fucking head.
Nice.
I fixed that ground loop hum by getting that Furman power conditioner.
It worked.
So, yeah. It's silent. It's beautiful. Okay. Super tight. Super great attack. The sound guy, the way he was mixing it, the first 2 bands, man, like, and there's no fault of them, but man, he had them sounding like shit. And you've been to you remember the McKinley Street pub?
Mm-hmm.
That's now called that's where we played. It's called the Freetown Boom Boom Room now.
Oh, okay.
So this dude is miking the guitars, the bass, the drums, like miking everything in there. And you know how small that room is, right? It's pretty tiny. So the first band sounded kind of shitty. The second band, he ruined, and they were touring all the way from Maryland. He basically ruined their set. Like the bass was just overwhelmingly loud. It sounded like dog shit. And the dude had good equipment. Like the guitarist had a fucking full stack Soldano, like nice shit, you know. I don't know about what the bass player was playing, but she her rig looked good. But man, he ruined their fucking set. I felt bad for him. So when we got up there, I was like, look, dude, don't mic. I said the only thing you need to fucking mic, just mic the kick, mic the toms, and the vocals. So don't mic the guitars, don't mic the bass. So we got 220 watt Ingle heads. Like, we don't need you to fucking mic us in this tiny room. All right. He came up to us at the end of the night and he's like, man, that was the fucking best mix of the whole night. And then I was rolling up my shit and I heard Jai talking to him and he was like, yeah, man, it's because they got those Ingle heads, man. Jesse just got the new one. We sound a lot better than the last time we were here. He's like, yeah, man, I just wish they'd have let me mic them because I think I could have even got it sounding even better. I just wanted to fucking turn around and smack the dude, like, no, motherfucker. The reason the mix sounded good is because we took variables out of the equation that you couldn't fuck up. So anyway, it was good. But man, because I didn't have the Ingle mic'd, I had to like turn it up louder than I normally would at practice. And oh my God, it sounds even better. Like when you turn it like loud, it sounded so fucking crisp and just punchy. Like it had way different, I don't know a way to describe it, but it was way different voicing, I guess. And like the loud, like I turned it up past noon for the first time.
Wow.
And it just really opened it up. I mean, it has a bunch of headroom.
It was
tubes? Great, man. Yeah, it's tubes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was great. I really enjoyed it.
That's awesome. Really get to open it up.
Yeah.
I got to open up my new djembe recently. I haven't really played it hard or a lot. And I got this gig with some black tie event, and I had to get a suit. And it was DJs. And they were really kick-ass, man. The DJs were good. And fucking, I played the bongo for like 45 minutes. Not the bongo, the djembe, sorry. Djembe. And I made a strap for it, so it went around. Dude, it was so much fun, dude.
That sounds fun, man. Just kind of like...
Yeah, man. Yeah, the DJ was really good, and he played like awesome dance beat, which was much different than the last DJ gig I had. It was like disco music, and it wasn't really a party. It's like an event. So it was just awesome, man, because the beat was building, you know, techno, and the beat hits. And I was trying to guess the breaks because I didn't know. There was no rehearsal. There was no, this is the songs we're playing. It was just... Exactly. So I was trying to guess the breaks and stuff, and it was dark, and everyone was like dressed up nice, and they had lights and shit. And I was, because the djembe sounds so cool, man. And I remember this one break where I was like, okay, it's building up, and I was just going, and then I was like, it's gonna break right here. And then the music broke, and me and the DJ looked at each other, and then I hit a rim shot. And it's hard to hit it perfect, like with your knuckles. But I just remember, like, when the music broke, I hit, like, that perfect rim shot right on time. And I heard it echo through the room, through the PA, just kang. And then the beat hit. I just remember that one little moment, how fucking awesome that was, dude. It was so cool, man. Like, the djembe is fucking awesome. It's my Ingle guitar head right now.
Isn't it awesome, though, when you get in that fucking flow state and you almost get goosebumps, like when you hit the right note at the right moment.
Yeah, man. Because like you can easily
perfect.
You can easily mess the note up, and then that moment's gone until the gig comes back around. Yeah, like it may never come back around. It could be 2 years till you get another moment like that, and you can hit that note, boom, and it makes all people. The crowd doesn't notice, like, oh, he didn't fuck it up and shit. They just know that this show is killing it right now. Yeah, but it was so much fun, man.
It's the best feeling in the fucking world, man, when you have that, in my opinion. It's why I play music.
Yeah, there's nothing like crushing it, because you have to prepare and like you capture that moment. It's not guaranteed you're going to crush it.
Yeah, I imagine it's like you're doing stand-up now, right? So I imagine it's a lot like when you're killing doing stand-up. Although I don't know if you've had that moment yet, but...
little bits and pieces of moments that felt good. But I think it's easier to maintain it with stand-up because, like, guitars and instruments, your muscles have to be conditioned. You have to, You know, like you have to actually be specific with talking. As long as you're comfortable and you remember your idea, like you probably won't fuck it up. There's not like an actual pace.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
You got, so it's a little easier. I don't know. It's nothing like it though, man. Like a good music show kicks ass.
Yeah, I mean, it's playing live is why I still do it, you know? I really enjoy it. I mean, I like recording and like writing, of course. That has its own reward system, but really nailing the moment live, there's really nothing like it. Especially if like it's a packed house, they're vibing too, so you and the crowd are both vibing together. It's fucking badass, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad you had that moment. That's awesome.
I'm glad you had that moment too, man.
Yeah. Like I said, I wish the show was a little bit more packed because in June, the June show was like sold out. That was an insane amount of energy, even though I didn't have like the good equipment or whatever. But that was a fucking amazing show. It's just a roar of people like after, like right when we came on and then after every song, it was just a roar. So it was really, that was its own thing. But we had a lot of fun this last show and it was still, people still went off. But like I said, there were only, there was awesome. A little less than 100. Versus like having 350 with people standing outside the door.
Well, I haven't had that turnout in a while. Starting this new band with my buddy, it's like a slow road to get to the point where you're playing for tons of people.
Yeah, it is. It is. And we've been building this since 2013. You know.
Yeah, been a hot little minute.
Yeah,
been a hot little minute. So, so let's get into it. On today's episode, we're finally doing the big episode, the big Hollow Earth Agharta episode. And I'm really excited. I actually got butterflies in my stomach, and it feels like a music show. Like, you know, this is the moment, and we got to crush it, you know?
For sure. Well, before we, like, dive into the specific articles, you want to just kind of briefly talk through, in general, what the Hollow Earth theory is. And when we talk about Hollow Earth,
yeah, well, hollow earth is basically the belief that the earth is hollow, but not so much absolutely hollow, maybe concentric shells, but also tunnels that connect parts of the earth to other parts of the earth. It's believed heavily by Tibetan Buddhists that there are civilizations that live underground. The Dalai Lama is said to have met with one of the, one of the leaders of this group. I mean, it's really kind of crazy when you start to crack open the egg. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, but there's a bunch of different theories about like in which ways the Earth is hollow, whether it's concentric rings or whether it's just one big hollow, empty sphere. Whenever you get below a certain mileage of the crust. Yeah.
There's also
in general, like the overarching theme is that the belief is that early ancient civilizations went underground early to escape catastrophe like floods, comets, and things like that. Yeah. And from that built this extremely advanced civilization that still resides in these tunnels and cities below the earth. Yeah. And there are secret passages to enter this hollow earth world in different spots on the earth, and there are different competing theories around that as well.
Mm-hmm. And like relatively new theories and ancient theories of ancient cultures like the Tibetan Buddhists, you know, the Hopis, the Makuxu. We'll get into some of these. Yep. But there's also pretty recent stuff. There's also the belief that there's a sun in the center. There's a sun that lights up the center, and there's, you know, it's actually a full tropical wildlife of always daylight, and the weather's perfect. Everything's amazing. But one of the most that's an interesting theory. I like. You know, from the Atlantean Gardens videos, and we'll get more into this, but that guy actually breaks down like some of the science around how light and life could be sustained underground. Yeah. We'll get into that. We'll get into that for sure. Which that was fascinating, you know? That's fascinating shit. I love the
down the actual science behind how it would work. So
let's start with Edmond Halley.
We're gonna go all the way back.
Yeah, and then we'll work even further back. So Edmond Halley is the guy who found Halley's Comet and the first to chart the constellations of the entire southern hemisphere. He was born in 1656, died in 1742. In 1692, based off of some of Isaac Newton's work, regarding the relative masses and gravitational interactions of the Earth with the Moon, Halley used Isaac Newton's math and was like, "Hey, this isn't correct. If this is correct, then the Earth should be hollow." Yeah, by the ratio, or the Earth should be smaller. And that's Halley. That's not some crack job. That's Halley. We all know Halley.
I read some outside of this article. I read some just content around this whole announcement he made, and through the math that I guess Isaac Newton had done, had uncovered that the Moon is actually more dense than the Earth.
Yeah, you're talking about this article here. The Hollow World of Edmond Halley?
Maybe so. I don't know. I bounced around in a bunch of different articles.
Okay. This one talks specifics about what you were just mentioning right here in the first paragraph. Jesse, you want to read that first paragraph?
It's small, but yes. 300 years ago in 1692, an article by Edmond Halley proposed that the Earth was hollow. His theory was based on the value of lunar relative density given by Isaac Newton. The first edition of Newton's Principia found that the mass of the Moon will be the mass of the Earth as 1 to 26 approximately, citing the relative densities of Moon to Earth as 9 to 5.2?
I think the decimal is supposed to be inside the parentheses, so I don't know. Okay. 9 to 5, I believe.
9 to 5. All right, anyway. Sorry, it's a little small on my end. This value of lunar relative mass was in excess by a factor of 3 as the true mass ratio 1 to 81. Arguably, the most significant error in Principia's book, The Third, it left an ultra-dense moon circling our Earth. Edmond Halley simply invoked these figures, and he said, Sir Isaac Newton has demonstrated the moon to be more solid than our Earth as 9 to 5. Why may we not suppose 4/9 of our globe to be cavity? It is remarkable that so erroneous a figure, having such unlikely implications, could be thus presented without need for further justification. Halley's theory appeared as the first significant deduction to be drawn from the book.
Yeah, and this article goes on and on, the stuff that is beyond me. But that paragraph basically sums it up. Halley, the man himself, did his math and basically was like, this isn't totally right here. And I think it's interesting that growing up in school, we know who Newton is, and then we know who Halley is. He found the comet. All right, moving on. They don't talk about how he pushed back and said stuff about hollow Earth, because he actually went a little bit more specific too in that previous article. He further postulated that there was indeed an atmosphere within these concentric layers that sustains life, and emanations at the poles, known as the Aurora Borealis and Australis, were energetic emulsions from the inner layered spheres. He used his theory to explain the existence of more than one magnetic pole, and his theory was far ahead of its time. So he's saying that there's like concentric layers and they have atmospheres, luminous core. Yeah, the core of the Earth illuminates the hollow Earth. And the Aurora Borealis and Australis is believed to be not electromagnetic interactions between space and our magnetic poles, but energy emulsions coming from the poles. And I saw something else about the holes in the ozone layer above the poles. Mm-hmm. Could be caused, it was in one of those books I think I sent you a couple weeks ago. It could be caused by like basically a lot of heat and thermonuclear energy coming out of the Earth at the poles that just simply pushes the ozone layer apart. Because that's what you do have in certain areas of the ozone layers. Certain UV energies or whatever can actually thin out the ozone, and you'll have thin and thick patches. Which is pretty fascinating that there's... Because they don't know otherwise why there's a hole in the ozone at the poles. They're only...
We don't? I thought we knew that.
Maybe we do. Maybe double check. But... From what I understood, that's one of those things that's just still theory, but I could be wrong.
Let's see. The ozone hole refers to the appearance of very low values of ozone in the stratosphere. The winter atmosphere above Antarctica is very cold. It occurs typically high over the continent of Antarctica during the southern hemisphere spring. The cold temperatures result in a temperature gradient between the South Pole and the southern hemisphere middle latitudes, which results in a strong westerly stratospheric winds that encircle the South Pole region. These strong winds, called the polar vortex, prevent warm air from the equator from reaching these polar latitudes. These extremely cold temperatures inside the strong winds help to form unique clouds called polar stratospheric clouds, or PSC. Blah, blah, blah. Chemicals on the surface of the particles composing PSCs result in chemical reactions that remove the chlorine from the atmospheric compounds. When the sun returns to the Antarctic stratosphere in the spring or fall, sunlight splits the chlorine molecules into highly reactive chlorine atoms that rapidly deplete ozone. The depletion is so rapid that it has been termed a hole in the ozone layer. An Arctic ozone hole is rare, but one did develop this spring. The winter of 2019-20 was unusual. The cold temperatures in the northern hemisphere polar region were present all winter long without weather disrupting the circulation pattern. Anyway, so yeah, apparently it's a chemical reaction that happens due to a weather event.
Interesting.
That causes the ozone to deplete, but it's apparently not very common, and it's not. Yeah, I thought growing up, like, we learned that there were always holes in the ozone.
Yeah, and it was our fault for burning gas.
I think there's these specific chemicals that, it wasn't even burning gas. It was like, I forget what was it's like the chemical that's in like hairspray and shit like that.
Oh. The like 80s killed the ozone layer.
That type of aerosol chemical. I don't know what it's called. But that's what we learned in science class growing up. But I did, go to school in Louisiana, so I'm a real dumbass.
Yeah, well, don't ask me. I went to a Christian school in Louisiana. They definitely taught 6-day creation theory. I don't know nothing. So I think that's enough on Halley. That's basically it. I mean, there's a lot more if you want to look more into that, listeners. So next on the line is the Thule Society. And that goes to Germany, which is a little further ahead. But the Thule Society, the Studiengruppe für Germanisches Altertum, the study group for Germanic antiquity, was a German occultist and Volkisch group in Munich, notable chiefly as the organization that sponsored the Deutsche Arbeiterpartei.
Good attempt, brother. Good attempt, man.
Which was later transformed by Hitler into the Nazi Party. Hitler, however, was never a member of the Thule Society. Hitler also demonized the Thule Society after he took power. Remember how we talked about how ancient cultures will take over the new god and the new culture after a war, and they'll demonize it but rename it? That's basically what he did with the Thule Society. A primary focus of Thule Gesellschaft was a claim concerning the origins of the Aryan race. I think this is fascinating because I've always wondered, like, Aryan, what the fuck is it with blue-eyed people? Yeah. Thule was a land located by Greco-Roman geographers in the furthest north. The society was named after Ultima Thule, Latin for most distant north, mentioned by the Roman poet Virgil in his epic poem Aeneid, which was the far northern segment of Thule, and is generally understood to mean Scandinavia. Said by Nazi mystics to be the capital of ancient Hyperborea, they placed Ultima Thule in the extreme north near Greenland or Iceland. The Thulists believed in hollow earth theory. Thule Society counted among its goals the desire to prove the Aryan race came from a lost continent, perhaps Atlantis. And that's basically what Hitler hijacked. So another faction of the old world where hollow earth was a belief.
Yeah, and like you said, after Hitler took over, he actually started to execute some of these people that were part of the Thule Society. Yeah,
and here, more on Hyperborea, I found this little breakdown of some of the older cultures that referenced it, some Irish cultures, some this and that. It's somewhere in here. Goddess Nyx. Hyperborea was said to enjoy sunlight all the time, with the goddess Nyx never bringing darkness. Boreas, the north wind, could not blow his brutal cold into the lands beyond this reach. Thought there was a, here it is.
The Aurora Borealis came from.
Yeah, there's a connection in that name. There's a connection in that name, you know? It's all these connections. So Thrace is an ancient country that was west of the Black Sea, north of the Aegean Sea. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but I put it in my notes. The Celts, identifying the Ripon Mountains as the Alps, the people to the north were believed to be the Celts, while their lands became well known to the Romans. The vast forest that covered much of their territory gave some credence to the identification, as did the people's reputation for feasting and a love of gold. So I guess that's to do with Hyperborea. The Britons. Several ancient writers described Hyperborea as an island. The fertile land of southern Britain watched descriptions of Hyperborea, and some mentions of a circular altar to Apollo were thought to reference stone circles such as Stonehenge. The Gauls in the 1st century AD, Plutarch specified the Hyperboreans were not Celts in general, but specifically the tribes of Gaul. Remember we talked about Gaul in the Christmas episode, Saturnalia, and then that tied in with that Bible character. Like, I forgot who it was. It was like, holy shit, this guy was an ancient Celt. So that's what that reminds me of. And last, the I don't know how to say that.
Massagete.
Yeah. Simmias of Rhodes suggests that Hyperboreans were related to this tribe of nomadic people from Central Asia and northern Iran. Herodotus further claimed Hyperboreans lived beyond the lands of these tribes. So
those are all theories of what Hyperborea is.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of Hyperborea other than that it's connected with Hollow Earth and seems to be the capital and conflated with Greenland, and a lot of philosophers and people talked about it and cultures. It was something.
Yeah, and there seems to be that connection with Borealis.
Yeah, which I love that. I feel like there's something there. I mean, the Aurora Borealis is mind-blowing when you think about it. Just these weird lights in the sky that happen.
Yeah,
it's like something out of a fantasy
There is
world.
A scientific explanation on why that happens, and it does not align with what the Hollow Earth believe is happening there. But
yeah, it's still fascinating though that
is
shit
definitely
can happen.
Fascinating.
It's like real life.
It's amazing looking. Yeah,
it just seems like real life is limited to like neon signs and walking down sidewalks and having street lights, but just lights in the sky dancing because of electromagnetic magic energy. That's fascinating as shit. Real life.
Go somewhere where you can actually get like a good glimpse of the Milky Way.
Yeah.
It's fucking mind blowing.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a whole lot in this article. I mean, holy shit.
The Thule Society is definitely. It was interesting, man.
Yeah.
And they were basing their beliefs off, what was found by Greco-Roman geographers.
And they made wrestling, and wrestling's like the cornerstone of MMA. So they're a smart people.
They know their shit.
They basically started the UFC.
The Greeks and the Romans, that's right.
So Secret Vril Society. This is pretty interesting. The Vril Society.
This one I found was a little bit more interesting than the Thule Society.
You want to take it away on this one? This Maria Orsic chick who...
So what is the Vril Society? The Vril Society was a secret group of women that claimed to have kept their hair long in order to act as antenna to telepathically channel communication with other alien races. The society also believed to have come from an ancient Aryan race and had the belief that the New World Order was unavoidable. The Vril Society, along with the alien race, the Virilerans, helped the Nazi Party in successful development of the flying saucer. This was done by the use of telepathic communication to extraterrestrial aliens. So that sounds pretty crazy, but
kind of just kind of Scientology-esque, you know?
Yeah.
Just
but apparently this Maria Orsic chick that was part of the Vril Society met with Adolf Hitler, Heinrich Himmler, Alfred Rosenberg, and Hermann Göring, and brought documents containing cryptic transcripts that she claimed came from the solar system Aldebaran, located 68 light years away. The documents those two documents were two sets of transcripts. One was theorized to be from the German Templars, and another was unreadable, but they later determined that it was ancient Sumerian text. So Maria Orsic and her co-leader did their best to translate the text, and both discovered within the text instructions for building a flying saucer that powered on an invisible energy source. After their meeting with the Thule Society in 1920, the Nazi Party was formed, where Dr. Krohn then created the Thule Nazi flag.
Holy shit, dude.
You have a picture of that flag? It's
no,
it's right above it. Scroll up. Scroll up. There it is.
Right there?
Yeah, so I think that's, maybe that's not the flag, but if you look at it, it has kind of like a little swastika on it, with the law, discernment, illumination, and the senses in each one of the corners.
Look at the all-seeing eye right there in the middle of the
plane of consciousness, air, and fire.
Yeah, man.
A lot of symbolism in that.
This reminds me of our dollar bill and all the symbolism on our dollar bill and how no one thinks about it. Like, why the fuck is this there? I mean, it is kind of ritualistic and occultic because everybody has to handle cash. Everyone is going to be subjected to these visuals and these sigils that they put out there just by having it on the cash. I mean, it's so fundamental to making sure it passes into everyone's consciousness. All these signs, the pyramid, the all-seeing eye, you know, on cash. Like, let me buy my Snickers bar and stop brainwashing me.
Well, now we don't even look at the cash anymore because we all use digital currency, but yeah, you're right. There's a lot of symbolism on our dollar bills, and it's really weird when you just sit there and look at it.
Yeah.
How does the Vril Society connect to the Hollow Earth? So the Vril Society revealed the idea of subterranean matriarchal, the socialist utopia that ruled by the superior beings who mastered mysterious energy known as the Vril Force. The Vril Society believed that this energy source had no limits, as it was a cosmic life force energy and was greatly abundant. That's kind of their. Did I miss anything in terms of? Oh, right above that, the Vril followers believed to have possessed secret knowledge that could enable them to change their race equal to be those like the godlike race living in the Earth's depths. So they also held this belief that the Aryan race came from the society that was cast into the depths of Earth and had been living there for centuries.
And that's interesting because on one of the recent episodes we had talked about the Nephilim and how there were the fallen, the fallen extraterrestrials who slept with other flesh, strange flesh, which was basically human females. So they like diluted the bloodline, and they were cast into the underworld, which had a name. I forgot. You'd have to go listen to the episode, but it had a name, and they were cast there. So that's interesting. The Thule kind of believed that too.
So yeah, did I miss anything on the Vril Society?
Wait, Vril Society, yeah, that's what believed it. No, basically that Maria Orsic chick and her, what was that telepathic communication with extraterrestrials that said they came from Aldebaran in Taurus, 68 light years away, and then she wrote out what they said, and it was in Sumerian script. Is that what happened? That is insane. And that had instructions to flying saucers that were powered by invisible energies.
There's a lot of conspiracies around the Nazi Party having flying saucer technology.
Yeah, I mean, what the hell? That's pretty wild because, there's a lot of accounts of people. I mean, I don't know if it's true or not, but, you get into, what's it called? Astral projecting and government studies of telepathy and been some accounts of people that were super accurate, consistent.
I mean, the Nazis were like way more advanced than the rest of the world in their scientific endeavors, which is why Operation Paperclip went down, and we took a bunch of their scientists to advance our technology further. So maybe, maybe there is some truth to the fact that maybe they figured out an alternative energy source. And I don't know.
And now we're seeing it.
Fun to think about.
Now
we're seeing it. Although, man, I watched this. I don't want to derail the conversation, but I watched this UFO show on Showtime. I was telling you about it the other night when we were playing PlayStation, and man, it made me think that maybe this whole thing is this whole UFO obsession that the media has lately, and from the New York Times article that's put out in 2017, that is a misdirection by the CIA. Because there was a whole episode on that and how Roswell that's probably what happened with Roswell, because we were testing this weather balloon technology that was supposed to, fly at super high altitude so that we could fly it over Russia to collect intel. So whenever it crashed in New Mexico, they used the UFO story to misdirect everyone off of the fact that it was a balloon that was, I don't remember the type of balloon, but this super high altitude balloon that they're using to collect intel, just so that they didn't know that we were in possession of that type of technology. So
I thought it happened the other way around. The UFO story got out first, and then they covered it up with the balloon story.
I don't know. I got to go back and look at the timeline of events, but the way that this show was laying it out, and this show is like a show about like UFOs are real. So I guess this was the episode where they're trying to say, well, maybe we got to approach this with some skepticism.
Yeah. Well, it is weird that establishment media and government is okay with admitting UFOs are real.
It could be a misdirection that, hey, we have this type of technology and they just don't want us to fucking know about it right now.
Media Roots did a good episode recently about what it all means, Robbie and Abby Martin. And it's just really interesting.
I'm going to check that out.
Yeah.
I like Abby Martin.
Yeah, she's awesome.
And her brother.
Dude, that dude's so smart. I don't know how he has a 7-part series on the history, the Masonic history, the history of Masonic history, whatever. And it's like over 20 hours of just him with research. And it's super fascinating. Super, super, super fascinating. But baseball is a Masonic game, American baseball. And he breaks that down. And he's not really a conspiracy nut. So for him to come across research that confirms the Masonic origins of baseball is because the pitcher is the accuser. And the person batting is the person defending the accusation. And there's like existential consequences that are played out in game form.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fucking trippy to think about.
As well as the diamond. The field is the shape of the thing. And it's the only sport played in a diamond, not on a flat rectangle field. There's a lot of little things about it. Baseball.
It's America's sport.
Yeah, man. Fucking baseball.
What's up next?
The Hopi Indians. So now we're getting into the ancient stuff.
Yeah,
the
this
ancient
is bullshit. This is what to me, this is what gives you a little credibility to the Hollow Earth theory, that there are so many of these ancient civilizations that have tales linking to a Hollow Earth.
Yeah.
And the cave paintings for the Hopis,
that's trippy.
Trippy, man.
That's super trippy. This right here, you don't have Destiny 2, but this looks like one of the graffitis on the wall that leads to a secret tunnel where you can get bonus prizes.
All right, bro, you convinced me. I'm getting Destiny 2 today. We're going to play today.
Okay, cool. They have a lot of expansions and stuff, so depending on what campaign you buy, you can get the Legendary Edition, and it has like Forsaken, Shadowkeep, and stuff.
I'm trying to spend $60, bro.
I think the new one, Beyond Light, is like $24 $24.99 right now. And then Shadowkeep is about 25. But whatever.
I'll do it.
But even if you just get the free version, you'll still be able to play online. But the thing is, since you haven't played, your light level might be low, so you might not be able to join me and Steve-O's fire team because we're like way up here, and you might be way down here. Well, so you might need some campaign to like unlock things that will be in our game.
So like, is there like a single? Like, can I play by myself to?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
See, here's the thing. I think we might be able to go to the same planet with each other and just run around. Maybe. But just get it. Destiny 2 and just get into it. It's fucking awesome, dude. They got a new one coming out. They just came out with the new one, and they got a new one coming out. A lot of...
all right. I have to get into it. A lot of people I know play it, so...
It's pretty conspiracy, too.
My friend Brad plays it, too.
It's really conspiracy with ancient stuff too. It's really interesting. If you have a keen eye to pick stuff up, it's like, oh, they knew something right here. That's interesting. Obelisks and rituals and Osiris and all these planets and pyramids everywhere. And it's just weird.
That's what you just talking about. That's what piqued my interest. So
yeah, it's pretty cool though. I mean, it's a fucking awesome game. So the Hopi Indians. The Hopi believed their gods resided in the center of the earth, not in the cosmos. They depicted ant-like men in their petroglyphs. Is this a petroglyph? Am I getting that right?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. And also flying shields, as they are called. Their belief was also of a great flood at some point, similar to the Sumerian myths and Gilgamesh, and blah, blah, blah. They believe these gods will eventually come back. Taiwa, Taoiwa, was the creator. He created Satuknung, his nephew. See, these spellings right here are very close to Sanskrit and Cambodian and Thai. So that whole area of the world is culturally close related to the language of like Sumerian stuff. It's very similar in that regard. So Satuknung sounds Thai, like a dude's last name.
Yeah.
So Taiwa was the creator. Created Satuknung, his nephew, and tasked him with creating 9 universes or worlds, which is similar also to Zeus and how he created Atlas, or Atlas created Zeus and shit in the 9 islands. 1 for him and the other 7 for the overabundance of life. The mythology tells that story that the first 3 worlds...
I thought it was interesting that it talks about it's a cyclical conception of time, similar to the way Aztec mythology... and those worlds continue cyclically. But also, didn't the Indian Vedas also, isn't that a measurement of time as well? Yeah,
the Vedas, how the bull loses a leg each year and then it starts over. Yeah. It's like that global religion repeating itself.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's got to be something there that all these cultures believe the same things. Like, what were they trying to tell us? But the first 3 worlds, Tokpela, Tokpa, and Kuskurza. Tokpela, that spelling is like Göbekli Tepe.
I know. I thought that immediately when I saw that.
It's like from the same world.
Tokpela, Tokpa, and Kuskurza.
Kuskurza. That's like Japanese. Tokpela, Tokpa, and Kuskurza have already been inhabited and subsequently destroyed due to corruption and wickedness of men. The Hopi speak that the end of each cycle is marked by the return of the gods, and announced by the appearance of the blue Kachina star, the sign of the day of purification in which the old world is destroyed and a new one begins. They depicted these underground gods as ant-men and were crucial for their survival. They saw them as hardworking and generous people, and they taught them how to survive by teaching them methods of food preservation, which is what Göbekli Tepe seems to be, a big transfer of knowledge, a big academy of, because that's like the same location and time frame. Something about agriculture. We'll get into that next episode or something. According to the Hopi, the first world, Tokpela, was destroyed by fire. The second world, Tokpa, was destroyed by cold, and it didn't say anything about Kuskurza. After the second cataclysm, the Hopi were guided by a cloud in the day and a star at night until they found Anu Siman, the Ant-Man, who led them into underground caves and helped them survive. Anu is also the god in Sumerian culture.
So they were guided by a cloud of strange shape and a moving star overnight. It sounds like the story of Jesus almost.
Yeah, the Bethlehem thing.
So, yeah. We'll go ahead.
Or there's another story of the guy who got away. He parted the waters and got away. I think there was a period where he was led by something like that. He was led by a pillar of cloud in the day and a pillar of fire by night. And he was eventually relieved from not necessarily natural destruction, but was saved. But yeah, anyway. Something like that.
And Anu Sinam, which Anum or Anu is actually the creator of creation in Sumerian language.
Yeah.
So that's
Anu.
Another parallel there.
I'm naming my son that. If I ever have a son, I'm going to name him Anu.
Anu, the creator of creation.
Yeah.
Anu Crozier.
I'm going to name him Satuknang.
Satuknang.
Yeah.
That way, yeah. Satuknang, present. Did you see that? The teacher calling it out in class? Louisiana, trying to pronounce that. They get it right in Colorado because they're progressive.
Yeah, in Louisiana, they would come up with some name like Sock Boy or something. And he would,
Sati, you here? Anyway.
Oh, look at the FBI spiral pedophile logo.
I don't think the ancient Hopi were inscribing pedophilia symbols on their petroglyphs here. But that's some crazy looking shit, man. That looks like aliens, or are they Ant-Men that they're describing?
Yeah, I mean, these apparently are the Ant-Men that they describe in their culture that saved them.
Look how giant he is.
Yeah.
Compared to the other beings next to him. So maybe that's depicting them, the giants that we're talking about, that always coincide with Hollow Earth conspiracies.
Yeah, what's he carrying? Is that like a djembe or a mushroom or a shovel?
I don't know. You know what, man? Graham Hancock talks a lot about that in his books, how these ancient petroglyphs and these cave paintings, they always depict this being carrying like a bag or something like that. And his belief is that that's the passing of knowledge from these more advanced beings to the people in all these different cultures of the world. And there's the same theme that you find in these ancient paintings and petroglyphs all around the world of this. So
yeah,
maybe that's aliens coming from other worlds to bestow knowledge upon these civilizations to keep the human race alive, or maybe it's an ancient civilization that's been existing inside the earth for thousands of years that are more advanced and bestowing the knowledge upon them. So it could be a couple different interpretations of that, but I think it's interesting that you see this type of theme in all these ancient paintings, carvings, and petroglyphs all over the place. Anyway.
Yeah. If there was a top 3 of answers, if I could have any answer to any question in the world, that's on that top 3. Like how would you word that? Like, do you rub the genie bottle and you go, what does it all mean? Or do you have to get specific and say, what's in their hand? But I would want to know, man, if I had 3 answers of anything I could know, I would want to know about this shit.
It's really weird that it's not like these cultures are communicating with each other. They didn't have the technology to do that back then. So the fact that they all depict these scenes is really strange.
Yeah. So that's the Hopi.
The Hopi, yep. You didn't really talk about the flying shields.
Oh, yeah. I didn't really find much on the flying shields. Do you have something on the flying shields?
No, it's just what was in the article. In the 3rd cycle, it is said that humanity built a very advanced civilization and developed the concept of flying shields, a sort of vehicle that can quickly travel to different places in the world and devastate entire cities on Earth. The third world was destroyed by Sataknang, the nephew of the creator, with a great flood. Also, in this case, there's a clear parallel with the Sumerian tradition in which we talk about the Great Flood that destroyed all previous civilization on the planet. This story is told in the Epic of Gilgamesh, a text which was then taken to biblical tradition in the history of the flood and Noah's Ark. According to the traditions of the Hopi, the survivors of the flood are scattered in different parts of the world under the guidance of Masawu, the spirit of death and the master of the fourth world. A fascinating petroglyph of the Hopi is that where Masawu is represented piloting a wingless boat that has the shape of a dome. The similarity between the flying shields and what we today consider as airplanes or flying saucers is mind-boggling. So,
whoa.
Yep. And it have that last paragraph. It says it seems evident that the flying shields or ships without wings are something ancient cultures around the globe witnessed in the distant past. So, this author of this article is also kind of referring to what we were just talking about. This is not the only ancient culture that has images of these advanced beings giving them bags or bestowing things to these civilizations, and then also flying saucers or ships, flying things, basically.
It's crazy. It says the ancient Hopi used the term to refer to something that was capable of flying through the skies and transporting people. What term are they talking about? The symbol of a boat with wings, or is there like a word that was?
I don't know. I don't see that. Oh, it's up above. Patovotus.
Ah. According to Frank Waters, author of Mystic Mexico, the advent of the sixth world of consciousness. It is in the third world where the ancient Hopi introduced the concept of the patuvotas, or flying shields. Okay. Interesting. Something was going on way back in the day, man.
Clearly.
Something was going on.
Yeah, or they have really amazing imaginations.
Yeah, and they all coincided, and they all accidentally wrote the same stories over.
Yeah, it's like how you in a comic across the world like wrote the same joke and didn't realize it. So
it would be like if multiple unrelated Hollywood studios all wrote the same super complex movie, but independent of each other.
Yeah,
like, how the fuck did this happen?
Or we wrote the same song.
Unless they were basing it on
a
truth.
few notes off.
Yeah, like if you're basing it on truth and history and you're recording your origins and what happened, then all these unrelated factions of the world could write the same story. But it's just so strange, man. And the most fascinating thing is we weren't taught about any of this shit. We were taught that Clint Eastwood came through New Mexico, saved America from the Indians, and built Walmart. We weren't taught about these Native Americans and all this stuff.
Hell no. Nope. So let's move on to Shambhala.
Shambhala.
Ancient Buddhism.
The capital of the fucking
Hollow Earth.
I mean, this is the tits right here. Tibetan Buddhism believed their hollow earth was called Agharta, and
still
Shambhala,
believe, by the way.
Yeah, still believe, and they fucking the capital of Agharta is basically Shambhala,
which means
what does it mean? A place of peace.
Yeah,
place of peace. So where the fuck are my notes?
Or in Sanskrit, place of tranquility.
Place of tranquility.
Indian Sanskrit name.
Yeah, it was believed. What the fuck? Before Atlantis. Yeah, my notes just are a little confusing. So the land of Shambhala lies in a valley. It is only approachable through a ring of snow peaks like the petals of a lotus. At the center is a 9-story crystal mountain which stands over a sacred lake and a place adorned with lapis, coral, gems, and pearls. Shambhala is a kingdom where humanity's wisdom is spared from the destruction and corruptions of time and history. ready to save the world in its hour of need. The prophecy of Shambhala states that each of its 32 kings will rule for 100 years. As their reigns pass, conditions in the outside world will deteriorate. Men will become obsessed with war and pursue power for its own sake, and materialism will triumph over all spiritual life. Eventually, an evil tyrant will emerge to oppress the earth in a despotic reign of terror. Trump, that was Trump. But just when the world seems on the brink of total downfall and destruction, Queen Kamala and Joe Biden come in. No, it doesn't say that. The mist will lift to reveal the icy mountains of Shambhala. Then the 32nd king of Shambhala, Rudra Cochrane, will lead a mighty army against the tyrant and his supporters. That was January 6th. And in a last great battle, they will be destroyed and peace restored.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, so interestingly, the Babylonian hero Gilgamesh visited his ancestor Utnapishtim in the bowels of the earth. In Greek mythology, Orpheus tries to rescue Eurydice from the underground hell. It was believed the pharaohs of Egypt communicated with the underworld, which could be accessed via secret tunnels hidden in the pyramids. And according to the Makuxi Indians, indigenous people, they live in the Amazon. They are descendants of the sun's children, the creator of fire and disease, and the protectors of inner earth. And the sun in Sumerian was Ra, and Ra was the sun god, or Anu. So it's all kind of connected. I don't know why I have notes about the Makuxis right here when I know it's about Tibet.
This article, like the first part of it, really talks about the Makuxi natives.
Okay, well, let me just finish that paragraph then.
Yeah.
The Makuxis say their people are to protect the entrance to the tunnels that lead into Earth. Ones who travel into the Earth say they go for 3 days down giant 33-inch stairs until they abandon their torches and go deeper with light provided from lanterns the size of watermelons shining bright like the sun. So apparently these tribes and people are still going down there, like tribe leaders, like their grandparents went down there. I mean, this is like relatively recent stuff. Apparently they go on these treks into the underworld to meet with these people. Yeah. Buddhists still believe millions of people are currently living in Agharta. Many cultures speak of these lands in our own planet. One such place referred by Hindu tradition and Tibetan Buddhism is called Shambhala.
And Shambhala is said to be a hidden kingdom that exists inside of our own planet, a magical place which we cannot possibly comprehend and is extremely difficult to find.
I want to go there, dude. That's where my spring break is going to be, dude.
Good luck, man. Good luck finding it.
We're going to Agharta. No hangovers in Shambhala.
Interestingly, according to the Dalai Lama, in a speech he gave in 1985, although those with special affiliation may actually be able to go there through their karmic connection, nevertheless, it is not a physical place that we can actually find. We can only say that it is a pure land in the human realm, and unless one has the merit and the actual karmic association, one cannot actually arrive there. And that's from the Esoteric Codex, Theosophy 1.
God damn it. The Dalai Lama shit on my party.
Yep. And then you had Greek philosopher, Manly P. Hall, author and 33rd degree Mason, explained it as, before Atlantis sank, its spiritually illuminated initiates who realized that their land was doomed because it had departed from the path of the light, withdrew from the ill-fated continent. Carrying with them the sacred and secret doctrine, these Atlanteans established themselves in Egypt, where they became its first divine rulers. Nearly all the great cosmological myths forming the foundation of the various sacred books of the world are based upon the Atlantean mystery rituals.
Whoa. That's crazy. So basically every culture, they're saying right here, is some form of the Atlantean mystery ritual. So it's all Atlantean.
According to this, yeah. According to that historian.
This is blowing my mind. I didn't realize there would be so much well-rounded information about something so crazy.
It does sound really wacky, really crazy, but it's fun to think about.
This sounds pretty wacky too. Located in modern-day Peru. Let me see if I can find it.
Oh yeah, the dark door. So there's theories that, hey, is it maybe an actual place, or is it actually door to another dimension? Right? What if it exists, but it's not in the dimension that we exist within?
Yeah, here it is. Yeah, it could be like a meditative state. It could be interdimensional.
Yep.
Or it could be a physical place. So there's all kind of things.
So in modern day Peru, we find the Gate of the Gods at Hayumarca. Legends speak that in the distant past, great heroes crossed into the land of the gods, enjoying a prosperous, glorious, immortal life. According to the legend, during the time of the Spanish conquest, an Incan priest called Amaru Muru from the Temple of the Seven Rays fled from his temple with a sacred golden disc known as the Key to the Gods of the Seven Rays. The priest hid in the mountains of Hayu Brand, afraid that the Spanish might take the key from him. Later, the priest arrived at the Gate of the Gods at Hayumarca, where he showed the key to several priests and shamans of the area. After they had performed a ritual, the door opened with a blue light emanating from it. The priest, Amaru Muru, handed the golden disc to one of the shamans and entered the door. He was never seen again. So then it goes on to postulate that what if Shambhala is in another dimension, and that all the ancient cultures that speak of the mythical lands are actually referring to the same place that's just in another dimension that we cannot access today.
Yeah, and it's not logically impossible for that to be the case. It is only scientifically impossible for the technology we have today. And only if we assume ancient cultures were dumb hunter-gatherers can we dismiss that. But maybe they had technology. That's it. It's not crazy. We almost have that technology.
Yeah, they had. So there's they present some evidence of why they think this could be true. They have ancient symbols that they find in areas where they should not be. So depicted in an extremely remote area, sitting atop an arid mountain plateau, causing confusion among those who have been able to observe it directly, is the ancient mandala symbol.
Yeah. Where's that at that picture?
I'll let you read through that part, but
here it is. I have it right here. See, I got this, bro. I got these bookmarks ready to rock and roll. Look at this shit. That mandala symbol right there. These Nazca lines and these things and these pictures, because you can only see this when you're way up in the sky.
Yeah.
So now look at that. That's the mandala symbol. And then we go back up, and there it is.
That's fun.
And then we go back down, and then we go back up, and there it is.
That's crazy.
One more, back down, and then up, and there it is. So what was it about that mandala?
So it's considered a ritual symbol in Indian religions and represents the universe. Today, it's become a generic term used to describe any diagram, chart, or geometrical pattern that represents the cosmos. The mandala also symbolizes the notion that life is, in fact, a never-ending cycle. But what is it doing in Peru? So the ancient Hindus were among the first people on the planet to use a mandala spiritually, but the most famous mandala most of us know are in fact made by Buddhists. In ancient Sanskrit, mandala means circle, even though the depiction of the symbol may be dominated by a set of squares or triangles. The mandala as a whole is a concentric creation. And then they're like, well, is it possible that the symbol located in the vicinity of the Gate of the Gods indicates that thousands of years ago, ancient cultures were aware of the existence of other dimensional realms like Shambhala? So,
yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, I don't even have anything to say. I mean, what the fuck can I add to that?
I don't know. What can I add to it? I mean, it's super interesting evidence.
You know what I can add? I can add that tattoo to my ass cheek and pay homage to our ancients.
There you go, man. That's what we should do after every episode, is just get a tattoo to pay homage to our ancients.
After every episode, we're going to run out. We could break it down and get the next outline, and then over time, we'll complete the mandala.
Sure. But we have to pay homage somehow, right?
Yeah. I'll pay homage when I twerk on TikTok.
With a mandala on your asshole.
Yeah, they'll probably get your views up if you put some ritual tattoos on your butt cheeks.
Maybe so, man.
Some sigil. It's fucking stupid.
All right, Makuxi. Let's round it out.
The Makuxi.
Makuxi.
So this is another. So the Hopi Indians, we covered those. They were in the Sego Canyon of Utah. So that's how they have a hollow earth theory, but they also have their tunnels, and they're in Utah. And the Makuxi Indians, I think, are also somewhere around there. So let's get into the Makuxis. No, the
Makuxi Indians are actually in the Amazon.
Okay, they're very similar to the my note was this. This was my note. Very similar to Hopi. Basically, read from the article. So,
perfect. Take it away, man. I've been doing a lot of reading.
Yeah. So the Makuxi Indians have always known the Earth is hollow. But the grandparents of the current Makuxi knew of the entrance. Until the 1900s, the young warriors descended to the bottom of the earth to visit the tall men. For them, obviously, there is a whole world inside our planet, right under our feet. They live in the Amazonia. They are peaceful hunter-gatherers. They are nomadic. They move between Brazil, Guyana, and Venezuela. Their distant ancestors were the children of the sun, and have taught them and shown the access to the inner earth. This is wild. These are singing caverns that lead to underground rooms of enormous proportions, where the stalagmites form real labyrinths. Okay, so anyway, I mentioned stairs. For those who can find the stairs, there's a way down into the bowels of the planet, after 2 weeks of perilous descent, to gain the inner paradise of the shining giants.
It goes on to describe what the journey is like to the center of the earth. So after the third day, they leave their torches behind, and it's illuminated by those watermelon-sized lights. On the fifth day, they reach a huge cave whose vaults are lost in the mist. And one of them, 4 spheres, shine like the sun, and no one can face them. They walk faster and have more strength as each day grows on, because apparently the deeper you go, it's saying that the gravity seems to decrease.
Whoa.
There's a lava zone that they pass through, skirting the abyss. Around the middle of a trip, the warriors seem to lose their weight and are now moving by flying above the ground because gravitational force has disappeared. And then the article says, it seems that the climax of the Earth's gravity is not the Earth core as was believed until now. It would be in the middle of the crust, in the middle of the lava zone, some 250 kilometers deep. After this point begins anti-gravity.
There's a strong windstorm. There's a strong windstorm that can blow and force them to hold on with all their strength to metal railings that are here for that. So, like, are they saying there's like metal railings that have been installed so that they don't get blown around by the wind? That's kind of crazy. But after traveling 13 to 15 days, the most valiant warriors lead inside. And there, on the other side of the world, is the inner earth. Live the tall men, about 3 to 4 meters tall. They are lovely as long as they are obeyed in all respects. They eat giant fruit, huge wheat grain, reminiscent of Osiris's fields. Or Osiris's.
They have unknown crops that are supposedly ripening under the indoor sun.
Oh, look at that. Keep going. Which
could be the crystal center that Mobius liked so much. It is a large red star whose light is pure vril. And has the power to rejuvenate the beings it illuminates. The air is sweet, fragrant, far from the surface pollution. In the words of the Makuxi ancestors, the earth core is full of riches and incredible wonders. It also says that Western explorers, either by trickery or force, previously obtained the plan of the caves. They were 5 Europeans, 2 Spanish, and 3 Englishmen thirst for gold and diamonds found in large quantities there. Needless to say, they were never seen again. Following this unacceptable intrusion, giants would have come out to punish the Makuxi of betraying the secret. They destroyed the entrance, collapsed the singing caverns, mined passages, broke stairs, then no one could enter ever. Well, that's what the Makuxi say to us who are not on the secret. I can imagine they invented the whole story of the missing explorers to prevent further questions about the inner world. The secret of the tall men is definitely sacred to the Makusi tribesmen. So once again, an ancient culture with stories about advanced giant civilizations that reside within the earth that we walk on every day. Wild. Wow. And since we got a little extra time here,
get into the locations.
Well, I was going to say, like, we know of actual underground cities in, like, the Turkey region that ancient civilizations have actually built that we can access and walk around as tourists today. And one of those is, like, the Derinkuyu.
Yeah.
Which is a giant underground city in Turkey that still hasn't been completely uncovered.
Yeah.
It was initially thought that, well, first of all, the way that ancient cultures is able to create this place is it's an area with that was part of volcanic ash deposits, so it was softer rock, and because of that, they were able to carve out rooms from the rock. And it started with just storage and underground food lockers, because the subterranean voids maintained constant temperature and protected the contents from exposure, like extreme weather and stuff like that. Also, it was thought that it potentially was used to protect the Hittites from attack, who was the civilization there at that time, which would have been around 15th and 12th century BCE. And they believe they used those tunnels to hide from Phrygian raids.
Yeah, and the Phrygians took it over in like 800 BC.
Yeah, there is an alternative suggestion. The Phrygians first built the tunnels between 8th and century BCE, and then the discovered Hittite artifacts were remnants from the spoils of war. And that theory is reinforced because the reputation of the Phrygians they're considered to be the best architects of the Iron Age.
I think it's interesting that music is named after some of these.
Phrygian mode. It's my favorite mode, man.
The Phrygian, Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixed Lydian.
Yeah.
All that. I think that's interesting how those... I would like to find out why those cultures are associated with the modes of music.
I'm sure it has to do with the discovery of these relationships between notes and things like that.
Yeah, it's very Pythagorean. So it's 8 floors and 85 meters in depth. The complex has a total of 11 floors, though many floors have not been excavated.
They think it could be up to 18 subterranean levels, actually.
Wow. So they actually, there's these vents. They have these huge stone circles you can see right here, stone wheels, and they use this to block off the doors, which is very reminiscent of the stone wheel that was blocking off the cave that Jesus was buried in.
Yeah.
And they're from Turkey. I met a guy at that black tie event, and he was from Turkey. His name was Felix. Very nice guy, and he was telling me about, you got to go to Turkey, and you got to go to the Cappadocia region. And I didn't know at that time, if I would have did my research before then, I would have been like, dude, Derinkuyu and Göbekli Tepe, because all that's in Turkey. But he was saying how the Mother Mary's Magdalene, her cemetery is in Turkey.
Wow.
So it's just interesting, these stone wheels going back to those days in that region of the world, and then they use the stone wheel like this to block off Jesus' cave. So that's just really interesting. And then they have vents in the roof that they thought were for air, but somehow discovered they were for pouring oil on intruders. I guess that's what they did to intruders. They poured car oil on them and then dumped feathers. And they were like, what is this? And then they ran away.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what they did. But they talk about how this is it went between periods of being used like to actually live in, or just used for like food storage and storage in general, depending on who was like the dominant empire at the time. So these Anatolian people or Turkish people went, in and out of living in this underground city, depending on if it was like a ruthless empire that was ruling at the time or not.
There we go. So did you hear about the other Derinkuyu they discovered?
No. I know there's Derinkuyu is just one of hundreds of underground cities that they know of.
Well,
and that's accepted by like mainstream science, like outside of the hollow earth theory, right? So in there's an even larger one apparently.
Yeah, this is the one I was getting at in Cappadocia as of 2014. No, that's Göbekli Tepe, but it was found beneath the Nevşehir forest in 2014. Yeah, considered the biggest archaeological find that year. 7 kilometers of tunnels, hidden churches, and escape galleries. Dates back 5,000 years. It is 11 levels deep and has 600 entrances and many miles of tunnels connecting it to other underground cities. It incorporates areas for sleeping, livestock, wells, water tanks, pits for cooking, yada yada, bathrooms, and tubes. Archaeologists believe it is the largest underground city in the world and far surpasses Derinkuyu.
Damn.
Details regarding the dating of the site and how this was carried out have not yet been released by those involved. However, researchers have reported retrieving more than 40 artifacts from the tunnel so far, and they've dated those back to about 5,000 years. Numerous other underground cities in Cappadocia have also been dated to this era. Despite pouring 90 million Turkish liras into the urban transformation project so far, the TOKI has said it will now move their project to the outskirts. So basically, this new discovery was found because they were tearing down commercial businesses and rebuilding. And the owner of the land probably made a shit ton from the government. And now he moved his businesses to the outskirts, and now they have like a preservation society, the cultural, what is it? There's a name, Cultural and National Heritage Preservation Board.
That's wild that there's all these different underground cities that we know of.
This guy says it like this. Hasan Unver, mayor of Nevşehir, said other underground cities in Nevşehir's various districts do not even amount to the, quote, kitchen of this new underground city.
It's cool.
And they're just finding this. There's like supposedly tunnels under the pyramids too. I didn't even look into those tunnels for this episode. We can cover that at another day though. But these pictures are fucking fascinating. It could accommodate 20,000 to 50,000 people.
That is nuts.
Dude, that's a lot of
people.
So
how are we thinking that, why is it so crazy that we could have a hollow earth? Look at we know this is legit. We know this is real.
Or just like to word it maybe a little better.
How did they before we had electricity? Because you look at all these photos, they have like cabling run like stapled to the walls and shit.
Yeah.
How did they see through all these underground caverns?
What about like torches and candles? But you're burning your oxygen if you're lighting fire.
Right.
So I don't know, man. But light reflection, I think that was. There's this tunnel, and I probably shouldn't talk about it because I don't remember the details, but I'd learned it from like a Graham Hancock or something like that, one of those little rabbit holes. And the way the tunnel was shaped as you go into the earth in this part, like a cave, was that it does like this. It was like you're constantly like standing up and then crouching and going through this thing. Because the way it's shaped, it forces air down. It creates an airflow, so they get air down there. And as far as light, I don't know, light from the earth, hollow earth coming up, and they set up like reflective properties or I don't even know. Maybe you don't even need light once your eyes adjust.
Maybe.
Whenever you're fucking extraterrestrials from the center of the earth, you probably get supercharged with night vision. So you're like, you know what? I just need some more Agharta booty so I can see.
Agharta booty's probably the best booty.
I think Earth booty is the best booty because they fucking came here and slept with our women.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you got a point.
That's what Sam Tripoli says. It's hilarious. He says, everybody wants to bang Earth chicks. Everybody wants a piece of that Earth chick ass.
He's not wrong.
No. I have another bookmark here.
Oh.
Massive 5,000-year-old. I think this is the same. Yeah, Nevsahir province. Some 1,500 buildings were destructed, located in and around the Nevsahir fortress, and the underground city was discovered when the earth moving to construct new buildings had started. So this is like a cartoon depiction of it.
Jesus.
I love how they depict the people with, like, you know, children and
horses. You can see that though. All right, so I see how they're doing that. There's ventilation shafts. There's two of them right there running vertical all the way up to the top. Okay.
Yeah, dude, can you imagine if you fart like a really rancid fart and it just travels through everywhere and like everyone's like, who the fuck just farted? And you're like, I'm sorry.
They had to smell horrible down there.
On the bottom floor, just ripping
Where were they shitting and pissing at?
They had bathrooms built in here. I don't know how they did it, but look, they had technology back then, central water and shit like that. So I'm sure they had it figured out where it probably just, man, that's a good question, dude.
They had to shit and piss somewhere. And the Phrygians are, you know,
well, maybe they didn't shit
murder you if you go up to the surface. Then you got to figure it out. You got to shit somewhere.
Well, maybe they ate fruit and plants from Agharta, and like those fruit and plants.
It was just the perfect amount of nutrients. So
there's no leftover.
Zero waste.
Maybe like once a month you made it to the surface to go drop a deuce, and that was it.
Yep. A very minimal byproduct.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be a podcast if we didn't end it on some, if we didn't talk about masks at least once in the podcast.
Shit.
So today, you'll love this. I saw that.
Let's finish this part right here, because that guy from Turkey was saying how they have cave houses, and this is a picture of it. Houses in Cappadocia, Turkey, built into the caves.
Yeah, so those are volcanic ash rock deposits, and that's how they were able to carve those like cave houses out.
Yeah. Well, we have a little bit more to cover on those videos. Can we run through that before we end it?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so what's your mask story you wanted to tell me?
Oh, none. I just saw in the news today that the Oregon governor is now mandating masks outside.
Yeah, I saw her. Oh, people love her. They're like, thank you for being a fucking leader. You go, girl. Oh my
God, you are so right. Like, we're never going to get this pandemic under control until we have people wearing masks outside. Oh, doesn't apply to the homeless, though.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
That's weird. What immediately strikes me is growing up, it's always don't talk to strangers and homeless people. They're crazy and that's dangerous. And now at the most dangerous time ever in a pandemic, there's no worry. It's just weird. Like now they're not worried about the homeless giving you COVID and shit. I don't know. It's just weird double standard.
Yeah, it's fucking dumb. Anyway, let's get through those Atlantean, at least that one Atlantean video.
Yeah.
So he was talking about, I mean, a lot of the stuff we already talked about, right? How lots of ancient cultures talk about the hollow earth theory. His take on it was that, you know, it's all these antediluvian civilizations, right? After the flood that sought refuge in the caves. That's the civilization that is residing within the hollow earth. And he actually goes into how could life survive underground.
Yeah.
I did not know this, but apparently 75% of the oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere actually comes from marine plants or the algae that we have. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
if they cut down all of the world's trees, we would still be able to breathe oxygen because of the algae that's part of the Earth's atmosphere.
That's going to get us deplatformed and canceled.
Yeah, probably so. Oh, well. You know, so when you think about how would that apply on a subterranean level? Because photosynthesis requires sunlight. This guy actually goes into how photosynthesis takes place at like the ocean floor through a chemical process that those microorganisms use to convert, basically expel oxygen, right? So I thought that was really interesting that he's actually providing a scientific basis for how this subterranean civilization could be sustained. He talks about how there's a food supply, because there's underground rivers and lakes, and these underground rivers and lakes contain algae, and because they contain algae, there's also small animals that feed on algae, right? So there's a food source in these underground areas. And then also lichen. So
can you pull up a picture of that? Because that shit is cool as fuck.
Let me see if I can find.
Were you going to get to the thermonuclear vents?
You can talk about that. Go for it.
Yeah, so the way it works is photosynthesis is that uses energy from sunlight, but way below the ocean they discovered, I believe it was thermonuclear vents that emit hydrogen sulfide, and it produces a chemical reaction that achieves photosynthesis, but it's called chemosynthesis. So that's how life can be created and sustained at depths with no sunlight, because you have large creatures at the depths that grow at a faster pace than we know at the surface. And it's particularly due to chemosynthesis in these thermonuclear vents that put out hydrogen sulfide. So supporting life way in the depths of a hollow earth is very possible, and we know this. While you're finding that, I'll just read this. William Fairfield Warren in 1985 wrote the book Paradise Found, The Cradle of the Human Race at the North Pole. He thought the Garden of Eden was there, but he equated Atlas, who held the universe on his shoulders, or the earth on a pillar, with Plato's Atlas as the first ruler of Atlantis. And then Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Indian spiritual leader, wrote that the Arctic home in the Vedas. He wrote a book called The Arctic Home in the Vedas in 1898. And he basically talked about Vedic hymns, passages, chronology, and calendars which describe ancient Aryan migrations from the Arctic to northern Europe and Asia in search of land for new settlements. And so that's lichen. So I'll get into the pygmies after this, but yeah, look at that, man. This light producing.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible, right?
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking.
This photo right here in particular, like, what the fuck?
Is that rocks under a black light, or is that self-luminous?
Supposed to be self-luminous.
Interesting. So I was thinking that the lights, that's the size of a watermelon walking down the caves.
Now, what is that?
Maybe they just grow super large lichen in the underworld. They just have one that makes good light, and they fucking feed it, just like we make really tall plants and shit. They just, we need lichen, and they got a little maintenance guy and a little hat. It's probably the Grim Reaper. That's what his Sith is for. He uses it to carve the lichen and keep, you know what I mean? That's probably where he comes from. But this interesting thing about the book Arctic Home in the Vedas, where he talked about Aryans during the pre-glacial period, they had to leave due to the ice deluge. He points to certain Vedic hymns, passages, chronology, and calendars which describe ancient Aryan migrations from the Arctic to the northern Europe and Asia in search of land for settlements. He dedicated his book to Mueller at Oxford University. Tilak shared his ideas with Mueller before he passed away. All these men shared the view on the Vedic hymns and Hollow Earth. But there's also something about the Pygmies and the Eskimos. They were called Skraelings. I really, really wanted to talk about that. But they were called Skraelings. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. I'm getting it right here.
All good. I didn't get to that part, so.
Okay, so yeah, let me just get to that part. So a map published in 1570 by Abraham Ortelius of Amsterdam is called the Theatrum Orbis Terrarum and is the first true modern atlas. The North Polar Inset map presents a central continent of Hyperborea in the Arctic region. Many maps from this time are based on books and sources that no longer exist or are extremely rare from like way older periods. Gerardus Mercator's map was the earliest to display the Arctic drawn from classical and Nordic sources. He was a cartographer and mathematician. His map from the 16th century offered an image, the Arctic as source, blah, 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 this and that. So, the trolls, eternal snow. He described the mountains of eternal snow, forests without trails, rare animals, roaring rivers, and the abysses of cracks. Strange tribes reside there, and an immeasurably rich forest troll named Mimi has lived there at some points, what this guy said. That made the map. To find the entrance, one must traverse it with a sled harnessed by reindeer. So that's interesting. Herodotus wrote about the legendary Hyperborean continent, which he said lies in the far north. And then you get into the Pygmies, because the Pygmies were heavily populated in the northern Canadian and Arctic regions. The 4 rivers that travel into the center are said to be controlled by heavy magnetic forces that lie along the meridian. My map here.
Yeah, I see that.
Center and the 4 rivers. And that is Hyperborea and goes into the center of the earth.
Sweet.
So the Pygmies in Greenland were called Skraelings, and they were about 4 feet tall at the most. Skraeling is a Norse word for the various native people of the Arctic and New World, including mainland Native American Indians, Dorset people of the islands, and Eskimos, who replaced Dorsets in early 2nd millennium. Pygmy derived from the Greek word unit measurement for cubit. So basically what the Scandinavians and people in Greenland had recorded back in the day, way back in the day of interacting with Eskimos and asking where they came from, was that they just pointed north. And
it almost lines up with the theory that the poles open up.
Yeah.
And that's the entrance to like a hollow earth.
And they wouldn't think that other people don't know that if they came from there. And then the Greenlanders or the Icelanders were very confused because to them it was just the North Pole and it ended. But the Eskimos were seen by these people as like a supernatural people because they came from a place that they knew was uninhabitable. And that's all they knew about the Eskimos. And that's all the Eskimos knew about themselves was their lineage. So the Eskimos always just came from the north, and they're large part Pygmies. The thing about the Pygmies in this video talked about the Pygmies' war with cranes because cranes were huge.
Yeah.
And they were fighting cranes. And this is in their own cultural
Stories.
belief. Yeah. The crane wars, which sound storks, is what they were called. So they actually had, the Pygmies actually had to migrate away from the northern region, away from the cranes and storks.
Is that how they ended up in Africa?
That's how they ended up in Europe and Asia and wherever they are now.
They're in Africa now.
Because they can't explain where they came from. There's like this mystery around the Pygmies and their trajectory in the human population, because it's like they just came from the north out of nowhere, and then at some point, according to their legend, they war with cranes and had to leave. And then in real anthropology, they're like, we don't know what else to think, because that's all we know is what their stories tell us, and we don't even know where they came from. So it's like the mystery matches up with their weird answer.
Because also you'd think that if they really were from like a Nordic area and there was, they would be white, right?
Yeah.
They would be black.
Super dark.
Yeah, they're super dark.
And short, because if there's...
Why do they have that amount of melanin in their skin, you know? It's weird.
Super bright sun with 24-hour daylight in the inner earth, and they don't grow tall because they're very short, because there's no gravity, so they just don't grow tall. I mean, it makes sense, what we know physiologically, how you would probably turn out if you grew up in the inner earth.
It's fucking weird. Damn.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so
same thing with the Eskimos. Like, why are the Eskimos as dark as they are?
Yeah, well, they're the Pygmies. They're like part of it.
Right.
Because they were like...
Strange.
I know, man. I didn't know the Pygmies were probably from the inner earth, man. What the fuck?
How they're persecuted where they live. Wild.
Yeah. So last paragraph, Mattis Suter published a map in 1740, one of the most important and prolific German map publishers of 18th century. It is of Scharafenland, a land of milk and honey, a German concept of utopia. It was supposedly dropped off outside of his door at his map shop anonymously. It is not of any land mass on Earth. It's very similar to this map here. This might actually even be the map. I just jacked a screenshot from his video. So at the bottom right hand of the map, it's not of any landmass on Earth. It has writing on it that says the light is the same both day and night. On the back of the map, the light is the same both day and night.
What the fuck?
Yeah, in the corner of the map, it says in German, a utopian map of the newly discovered Schlaraffenland. It is widely spoken of but never located. No one knows where it is. This fantasy map is of a kingdom that has all the vices of life. The drawing is of a large mountain with 4 rivers running into it, similar to Mercator's map. So it's...
Sounds like what the Tibetans believe.
Yeah, exactly. And the Germans were in on it, and then we warred the Germans and jacked all their stuff. Isn't this wild, man?
It's really crazy, man. And this is the tip of the iceberg. So we have more research to do to come back next week.
Yeah, we're gonna pick up tip of the iceberg, literally the tip of the iceberg.
Yep.
That was fun. We made good time, an hour and a half. We got through all that stuff.
I know. We did well. We did good, man. I'm happy I was able to get it done before my parents got here. So awesome.
Yeah, man. I hope everybody enjoyed that. I know I enjoyed it.
I did. I had fun.
Yeah. We'll talk and figure out what the next topic will be. We'll move into the next thing.
I would like to... I mean, we got those 2 PDFs you sent by Dr. R.W. Bernard. I already read through those, so we could maybe run through some of that.
Yeah, let's do that. And then... I want to do Göbekli Tepe since it's relevant.
I would too, man. Göbekli Tepe, man. I think it's an important site, man. I hope we uncover what it was really for. And that mainstream science and archaeologists and geologists are open to multiple possibilities there.
Yeah, and there's this, I found it through Graham Hancock, and I can't find it anymore, but I need to find it. It's like a 7 or 5-part video series of a professor who broke down the astronomical alignment of the vulture stone, the most popular stone at Göbekli Tepe, with the vulture and the sun and all that stuff. And it's fucking awesome. And I hope I can find that, because that's definitely going to need episode. To be. Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. So, okay, man. Good episode. Thanks for watching, and thanks for listening, everybody. Don't forget to check out our bands. Go listen to our band.
Check it out.
Check it out. The links are in the description. You can just click straight through to Spotify.
Sweet. And then also check out Dillon and I's Twitch streams.
Yes.
Time.
Yeah, Jesse's going to get Destiny, and we're going to crush it.
Yes.
Green Hell was pretty fun.
Yeah, Green Hell is pretty fun. I played some more last night.
How'd that go? I was at work.
Oh, it's all good. I got to the point where I can like build a shelter. I took ayahuasca in the game, so I did trip balls, so that was cool. Okay. Maybe I'm gonna find the entrance to Hollow Earth, because it is based in the Amazon, and that's think about it. We're talking about the Macruxy Indians. That's where they live. Maybe, and there's this native tribe that you're trying to find. I think maybe I'm gonna end up in the Hollow Earth in Green Hell.
Okay. I hope I'm there when you find it.
And so
I wonder if that's what the tribal person was that killed me. The dude that was creeping with the spear, if he was a Makuxi. That motherfucker.
It might have been. He's trying to keep you from the entrance of the Hollow Earth. That's what it was.
They're protecting the entrance to the inner Earth. Exactly.
Cool, man. Let me go and I got the parents on the way, so let me go and
all right.
Get all ready for them to show up with the baby and everything. So
give your dad a baseball pat on the butt from me.
All right, I'll say that's from Dillon.
Who? I've met him like once.
You wouldn't know who the fuck you are.
All right, man.
All right, I'll see you next week, man.
All right, later, bro.
Later, everybody.